Hi, it's Ed from McFade Photography, and today I'm looking at a new product to me called Dehancer, which, as you can see from their website here, is a film emulation software which can be used both in video. So if you're a DaVinci Final Cut or Premiere user, you can use it on there, but it's also available for use in Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One and Affinity Photo. So it covers most of the main platforms and comes with an awful lot of film related features here. Now, I was never a film photographer, but I've always quite liked the vintage look you can get from it. So what I've done today, I've pulled together a few photos from Morecambe Bay when we're up there, and what I'm going to do is just try one of the film looks. So I've got a close-up of some shells here, picture of mother with one of my cameras there, and then a few more general landscapes. And I'm just going to try almost a first impressions video on these photos. Right, so to install it into Lightroom, the process is you go to your preferences. It's all documented in the zip file you get, and it's one of these external editing tools, just like you set up Photoshop and any other bit of software. You can go and just find the application there, and it adds it in. And when you right click on a photo, so let's go to this fisherman. So if you go right click, edit in, it appears there. Okay. So first impressions. So I've done, I've double clicked on whites and blacks with the shift key down just to get the tonal range fully expanded, and I'm gonna go straight into Dehancer now. So edit in, there we go. It's going to create a TIFF file because that's what I specified in the preferences, and let's have a look. Right, so that's loaded up, and it looks like it's gone straight to the settings I was using when I was playing around with it earlier, which could be perfect actually, because if you've been using it earlier, you might want to apply the same settings to another photo. But is there a reset button? Oh, what's this say? Reset all settings to default. Yeah, I'm just going along this top plate here. You've got settings, last used settings. Right, so if I click on this one here, there we go. So those are the default settings. Now, down this side here, you've got all the different film profiles you can wish for, really. I mean, if I scroll, it goes on and on and on. I mean, wow. A lot of these are movie type film stocks. Some are normal cameras. So what I'm getting is from this you can basically see what colour these things are down here. So this is quite an extreme cyan one. Forgive me there, because if you look here, the box isn't ticked. I was beginning to wonder why when I was clicking on the films it wasn't making any impression, but the little box here has to be ticked. That's a so if you wanted to go for some of these, this is a 1995 SEMA type. But this one, let me think, what would I like? You know, I guess this is a pertinent question. Where would I like to go with this one? And I think a fisherman at Morecambe Bay is fairly timeless, so I might... I'm looking more at warm tones. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm looking for warm tones to... or maybe even, yeah, this Ilford XP2 Super 400. Is it 500 there? Fujifilm Neo Pan. Arcos. I think in a nutshell, there's so much choice. You can have an absolute ball if you're into film. So just clicking through these, I mean, here's one that looks fairly nostalgic to me. Right, okay. I'm going to have to make a decision, aren't I? This one's a little bit more, bit cooler. That's a bit warmer. Fujicolor C200. Fuji Chrome Velvia 50. I think this is the look we all used to go to back in the 2000s with our Photoshop Velvia action, which everyone seemed to use. Oh man, so much to choose from. Not that one. Right. I'm gonna right, let's go for the Velvia. Because to be fair, it was pretty brown at the bottom, and the distance was well, you can see that's the Lake District up there in the corner. Those are Lakeland Fells, probably not far from Langdale there. So what we've got at the top here, we've got the zoom in 1:1 and zoom back out. So that is filled of pretty much the shot. We can look before and after with this. So that's as it came out of the camera. That's with the film effect added, and we can show and hide the histogram at the bottom of the photo. As you can see, this is quite top heavy, and the clipping, that's when it went red and blue, to show you when it's too dark and too bright. Right, so let's have a look down the side. I will scroll down here. As you can see, we've got an awful lot of sliders. So, film developer, what does this all do? So contrast boost. So if you take it down, it goes flatter. If you take it up, it gets more contrasty, which I often like. So I might add a little bit more contrast there. So gamma tends to be those mid-tones. So if we go up or down, so I like the fact that it's bringing out a bit more detail in the distance, which is pretty hazy. So I'm going to put the gamma down a little bit. Colour separation, what's this one? So if we take it all the way down, all the way back, doesn't seem to do an awful lot, which is fine. Colour boost, it's not the most colourful of images, is it? But you can see there, I suppose if you take it all the way down, it goes black and white almost. But I might just add a little bit more colour. Cool. So if we off, on, off. So with Film Developer, we've done that a little bit. I didn't do anything with the exposure and stuff at the top. Right, so what is film compression? Let's have a look at this then. Oh, it's done something already. Oh, wow. Okay. So you can choose the white point here. So if you want to go a little bit darker, you can go up with the slider. If you want to go brighter, so the white point is further down, I guess. Go the other way. Total range, how does this work? Okay. And colour density. Yeah. Let's just put the. Yeah, we're not showing the clipping, so there's no clipping there. It's quite white. So let's have a look at the before and after. Before, after. Right. So expand. This must be where you can say where the black point is. Yep. See the blacks at the bottom are just disappearing, and if you go this way, you probably better see the rocks quite in a more matte kind of way. White point, Yeah, quite like that, because so I've flattened it out a little bit. I've actually made it a little bit less dynamic, and I think that's quite a nice look to it. Okay, print. Not sure what that's all about. Now, colour head. This is where you can move between blue and yellow, green and magenta, red and cyan. So if you want a cooler shot, you can go from, you know, shift the yellows over to the blue side, or if you want a warmer shot, you can shift the blues over to the yellow side. Magenta and green. So you've added a bit of green there. Magenta. Oh yeah, I do like a little bit of magenta. It just warms it up a little bit. So I might, let's go back. So you can tweak away at these just to do your colour corrections. So if you want a cool shot, you can go towards the blue, cyans and greens. If you want a warmer shot, you can go the opposite way. And you can also do it in the shadows. That's quite interesting. So if you want blue shadows or yellow shadows, that's interesting. So mid-tone. Yeah, look, if you go one way, you get very blue mid-tones. Okay. Film grain. This is probably where this software excels. Let's just go full screen. So that's just fully zoomed in. Let's have a look at these different... Oh, wow. Look at all the different film grains you can have. That's before, that's after. So it's quite subtle. But if you look in the distance at the top, you can see the grain being applied quite nicely there, actually. If you take it off, it's quite smooth, and if you put it back on, it definitely gives it that nice grainy sort of look. Higher ISO, probably more grain. So let's zoom back a little bit. Okay, well, let's move on to a different shot. Just I'll click OK on that, pretend we're happy there. So that should... Let's go to these shells. Something completely different. So I might just double click to get the white and black point. And the day was, it was cloudy, so I'll go for the cloudy white balance, although it looks like the camera got it pretty much right there. I might add a little bit of clarity. I don't know whether this is a standard sort of workflow for the software, but I would maybe add a little clarity and sharpen. There we go. And then go to shells, right click, edit in Dehancer Lightroom. So I'll create as a TIFF file and open the software. Wow, okay. Now, I think this could be quite an interesting look. Let's have a look at this top one. Ooh, so this is already nice, isn't it? And these are just film types. Has it kept settings? So it has. I think it's kept settings from the last picture. So what I'll do is reset all settings to default. Right. So I think that's the same as what came out of Lightroom, isn't it? Actually, there's a whole bunch of presets here, look, which probably means you can get a look you like and then save it, and all these settings down here will be saved away so you can apply to more of your work. So you got the original with nothing there. That's using the last edits we just did, and then we've got all these lovely presets. I mean, look at that. The great thing about presets is it gets you to a point you can build upon. I would never suggest you use a preset in any photo editing software and just accept what it gives you. It's just a way of getting, fast forwarding you to a look you kind of like, and then you can take it a bit further. I mean, I was clicking through these thinking, well, let's have a look at the before and after. So that one has added quite a nice vignette to it, hasn't it? I like the way this one just seems to have left the yellow there. So what? This is Astrum Colour Negative. And if you have a little look down the tools, so it's, I think, well, they're all switched on. So we can, if you fancy a bit less contrast, you can bring that down and make it a little bit more pastel, you see. Something like that. Gamma, a bit. Put the gamma up, you'll get darker midtones. Quite like that. Should we have a look at some of the ones we didn't look at in the last photo? So if you have a look, we've got, yeah, it has got a vignette, so always handy. I always have my vignettes on 100% feather. Just gives it a nice look. I'm not sure what overscan does. Oh right, it's a film emulation. That's quite cool. Sure, I'd use that on commercial work. Film damage. Oh yes, if I toggle that on and off, you can see these bits of damage, I suppose. So you can add more if you want, and the type of damage as well. So hairs, scratches, bloom. Right, so bloom's like a little glow, isn't it? So I don't know if you can actually see on the video. Let's go in a little bit. Let's blooming, not blooming. So it's very subtle, actually, the way it's set up on this one. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the next one, which is Emulation. So this is another film effect, probably seen more in video than photography really. But if you've got like a bright light, sometimes you get a little glow, little orange glow around the edges of things. You get it on real estate photography sometimes if you're shooting in a dark room with a bright outdoors. But as you can see, we've got a few different settings here. So let's just try. Oops, I've switched halation up there. Let's just try. There you go. That's quite extreme, isn't it? There, but you can see that pink it's added. Interestingly. Okay. So if you select custom, it gives you all the sliders, and if you select one of the other presets, it doesn't. That's interesting. Okay, custom. So okay. So I'll leave that where it is, and then we're back to the film grain. So if we go back into 100%, which is there, if we increase the grain size and amount, we get this wonderful aged vibe. And you can add, well, you can add it separately into the shadows more than the highlights. It really is a completely different tool than anything I've used before for this kind of thing. I mean, I've used a fair few analog effect type things, and this is fairly next level, to be honest. Yeah. Let's have a okay, colour head. So this is where we can introduce a bit of a blue look, probably a bit of yellow for this one actually, maybe a bit less than that. Should we have a look at magenta? And when you think you've gone too far, you can always just have a quick look back at the original. Have I made it better or worse is a question I often ask when I'm editing. So the film grain, let's lower that and keep the detail a bit. Colour head we've just had a look at. I think the shadows, remember you can go blue or yellow by the look of it on the shadows. I might go just a little bit warm. And the highlights, yeah, I think I'll leave the highlights. I'm not entirely sure what the paper thing is about. As I say, this is just the first impressions video. Okay, so quite like where we've got to with that. So let's have a look at a different type of shot. Should we go for portrait? So this is me with one flash on mum. Well, what should we do? I'm just going to export it straight there. And let's make it, I'm going to try and make it look maybe like a 60s photo. So edit in Dehancer. Edit. So that's the settings that we applied to the shell. It's already looking quite vintage, isn't it? But what I'm looking for is something a little bit nostalgic and, well, I'll say 60s, but you know, that sort of holiday in the 70s kind of era. I'm just going to scroll down, see how many presets we've got. Lots. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they look great just as presets, don't they? I mean, that's a bit cool. I'm thinking warm tones. That's nice. Now, the shadows on some of these are quite deep. So, what's this one? It's a bit too magenta for me. There's a sepia shadow, very similar to the edit I actually did. Look at that! Just straight out of the box. Beautiful. You can probably get loads out of this just by using these presets. It's quite an interesting look, isn't it? Okay, so as a portrait photographer then, I probably just think that the shadows are a little bit dark. So let me see if I can work out how to sort this out. I mean, maybe it's something you should do ahead of times in Lightroom, but I would imagine it's this film compression. So if we put the exposure compensation up a little bit, that's gone way over, hasn't it? Let's just put it ever so slightly, and I'm just looking at what's the deframe. Oh, I think defringes if you've got any aberrations. Film developer. So, contrast boost. So if we bring the contrast down, I'll get rid of those dark shadows. So we might not want it that much, but maybe just slowly bring it down. It's down to, right, let's show you before and after on that. So there you go. So that's less shadow there, which I like. Gamma correction. I still quite like the shadowy look. That's why I put the light where I put it. So I do want this shadow just maybe not so deep, and now her gilet's not looking too deep either. So what's colour separation do? I suppose if you look at a face, it goes a little bit more orange, and then if you have it on full, it's not quite as orange. Colour boost, again, almost black and white, and then probably too colourful if you go up. So film compression, I guess this is like a compressor in music where you make the loud bits quieter and the quiet bits louder to get a bang that doesn't vary as much in volume. And it's the same with this. You bring the bright bits down and the dark bits up, and you get like a flatter look. Okay, so expand, that was the black and white point. So I think if I bring the blacks down a little bit, you get the washed out look. Yeah, quite like that. Probably the same with whites. I'll bring the white point down, you get the burnt out look. If you go up, you get the too flat look, so let's just, might make it a little bit brighter. This is, I don't know how this runs. This is a powerful machine with a 3070 video card with 64 gig of RAM, so it's performing just really nicely, you know. Hopefully, let's just look at the paper. Yeah, color head. Remember, we can change the blue-yellow balance a little bit if you wanted to. I was going for nostalgia, so that hints to me at warmer tones. So let's warm it up a little bit. Just have a reminder what it was like before. Cool. Film grain. So how grainy do we want to take her? Well, I like that one. Which one was that? No remjet. So these are terms you never get to use if you're a... Oh, wow. All the halation there. Oh, I've got into bloom, so that's why. Let me just switch that and that off for now. I'll go back to film grain. So I'm just going through these just to... Can you... Oh, so I'm at 8mm 250. If you press the down arrow... Oh. I don't know what I just did there. Oh, heck. Right, so I think by pressing the down key, rather than I was expecting to move up and down this list here, I think it might have moved here. So let me go back, 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 back. I'm just trying to get back to before I accidentally did the halation thing. Okay, so the lesson there is be a bit careful with the arrow keys. I don't know, I didn't see what was going on, but when I pressed the down arrow on here, when I was going through these, it didn't affect what was going on in this drop down, but it did, I think, I'm not sure, affect something else. So just a quick heads up on that one. Right, anyway, we're back to where we were. That's the great thing about software these days. You've got the undo button. Okay, so we've got the film grain set. Do we want halation? Whatever it's set on there is very low, isn't it? So I'll leave that on. Bloom. Let me just close halation. So bloom, 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 bloom. So there is some bloom there. It is doing something. So I was just trying the amplify. Well, there we go. Quite like that actually. It gives her a nice sort of softer glow, doesn't it? Okay, so film damage. I'm not going to bother with film damage, but let's just see what it does. Let's have a... There you go. That's like a preset in there, and some more there. I don't particularly want film damage. Overscan. See what that looks like. There we go. Look at that. See all these different presets here as well, which you can choose from, which is pretty cool. Widescreen 35mm. Probably great for your social media feeds, that. And vignette, my favourite, really. So let's just see what you can do with a vignette. Oh, it's got size, exposure. So if we take it all the way down, size. So this should make... Ah, right, yeah. So I think the size relates to the size of the inside, which isn't darkened. And then feather, if you turn the feather off, you're probably going to get, yeah, just like a little outline. And then you can bring it in like that. So I'm not going to take the exposure down that far. So before and after, it's actually really, really magical, isn't it, what it's doing? Wow. Okay. So we've done the fisherman, the shells, and mum. So let's just do this beach shot. Now I'm just going to, I think, should I do an auto levels on this? Just so Lightroom can do what it thinks it needs. Okay. And then we'll go. So that is straight in with the edit I just did on Mother. It looks great. Look at that. Wow. That could be, you know, 70s or something like that. It's just, it looks great, doesn't it? Wow. Do I save this? Let's just give it a go, actually. So last edits, import preset, export preset, create a new preset with current settings. So let's see how this works. Name. So AIDS Seaside. Yeah. I'm not going to write over anything. We're just going to add that as a preset. And that looks like it's gone into my presets. Oh, that's great. Excellent. So you can start to build your own library of looks as well, and maybe you can sell them. I don't know whether there's a marketplace for all this sort of stuff. Could be a little money-making opportunity to the entrepreneurs out there. Anyway, I really like that. But just in the interests of trying something else, should we go for a black and white? Let's go. So I'm interested to see whether any of these things change when you change the film type. Doesn't look like it, actually. So that's quite interesting. It's picked out the green on these rocks and things a bit more, hasn't it? Yeah, that's good. I mean, just clicking around. Right, let me now reset all settings to defaults. So all these things have now gone back to their default setting, probably all switched off actually. And let's just go to a couple of films. Yeah. So I think the look I got fairly quickly before was achieved by going through the presets and finding a preset I liked, because all the settings on the right hand side, all these, they were already preset by, I think it was the Dehancer team. Whereas if you start afresh, you're on quite a journey. Yeah, you're probably going to have to know what you're looking for before you set off in a way. So this is zoomed right the way in on a film called Fujicolor Natura 1600. So I guess that's ISO 1600, which is I guess pretty big back in the film days. Okay, so let's imagine we want to do something with this. So I reckon the sky is probably a little bit too bright on this one. So let's have a look at the film compression. Ah, that's brought it down, hasn't it? If we look at the histogram below, that's done it. That's cool. Contrast boost, so that removes contrast if you go that way. That adds contrast, so maybe bring it down because those rocks at the bottom were looking a little bit like a black blob. Gamma correction, if you go up it'll darken, if you go down it'll brighten. Colour separation, not quite worked out what that does yet. Temperature, you can go a warmer or cooler look. I'll leave it as, oh god, can I get back to 0? Double click and hit the 0, I suppose. Okay, film compression. That's a really useful one. Expand, I guess this is where you set your white and black point. If you do auto levels or get that sorted in Lightroom, you might not need that one, I guess. Print, so probably need to have a look more at the help when it comes to what this is all about, but it seems to default to this. And then can you actually, so tonal contrast, this is probably, a bit like clarity in Lightroom. Exposure. So you can do quite a bit of stuff in the print section. Just switch that off and on. Yeah, so I didn't want the dark areas to go that dark. So if I bring the black point down, does that solve it? It makes it a bit matted, but quite like that. Total range. So yeah, it's a bit of a different way of thinking than Lightroom, because you've got compression, expand and print all affecting brightness and things like that, which is something to learn, I guess. Well, these nostalgic looks, I'm attracted more to the warm side of things, so maybe put a bit of magenta and maybe not red. Yeah, quite like that. Although I feels like we've lost a bit of brightness now, so I might just, yeah, that's better, isn't it? Nice bright sky. Film grain. So let's. Oh, see, I think I don't know about you. I don't know if you can see this as well as I can, but this is one of the beauties of this software so far. It's just the grain. I mean, let's go 1:1. So that's what the grain looks like on this one. I might just get an 8mm ISO 500. So that's really grainy. ISO 50 shouldn't be quite as grainy. So if we go back to full screen, okay. Emulation. Let's just. Actually, it seems to have added a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of a glow around the pier there. Look, okay, bloom. I mean, I do like the bloom effect. It's very subtle on this one though. Maybe if you've got a more obvious subject than this sort of like wide landscape. And then we get down to the damage. Oh, vignette. Let's could have a vignette. So let's put the vignette. Can you? Let's just have a. What I want to do is the aspect ratio. Is that? Okay. So the aspect ratio creates you an oval. I don't know if you can move the vignette around. I think it's just centered on the center, which makes sense, to be fair. I know some software you can decide to have the center of the circle in different parts. Right, that seems to have darkened everything quite a lot. So I might go back up to somewhere where we can increase exposure a little bit. Let's have a look at what it was like before we started. Brilliant. So that's that one, and finally we'll just have, I just want to see what it does with a almost washed out looking shot. These are big old mountains in the Lake District. I'm not sure which ones they are. I know the Langdale Pikes are over here somewhere. When you drive down the coast you can see them. So let's not do anything. Right click, edit in, Dehancer. And I'm just going to go through presets on this one. So that's what we just did on the other one. It's like a warm, dreamy kind of look, isn't it? So presets. Let's save it. I'm going to call it dreamy landscape by me, and add that. Might as well, if you've got something you've done that you quite like. Okay, so I'm going to go to all presets, sort by name. There's a big list of them there, look. So let's have a look down. So that's quite a cool one. Not much grain in that one. It's black and white, is it? Yeah, look a bit of sepia. See, look at the grain it's got in the shadows there. It's such a nice touch. I mean, for this scene, I mean that's a bit bland, but most of the presets I've looked at would work, every one of them. I prefer the ones with a bit more grain. Maybe I've just become addicted to grain since I've been in this software, but as you can see, as I click down these, I don't know what you think, but I mean, maybe that's a bit too colourful. I quite like the blue ones, blue or warm browny ones. I mean, that sort of sepia look. Yeah, I mean, you can go on and on. Look, it just carries on going. Obviously, once you've found the preset you like, you can edit it in whatever way you want. That's the beauty of this kind of software, really. It's this will get you to a point which you think, actually, that's pretty cool, but I'd rather, and then you can actually, see, I think I am attracted to these very grainy shots at the moment, so I'm just going to make the blacks a little bit more dark on this one, just to give it a little bit of density at the bottom, and maybe even bring the whites up a bit. So if you look at, you can see the histogram shifting at the bottom, so it's gone off the end there. Before and after, that was what we photographed. That's where we've got to. Has this got a, I'm going to make it a little bit cooler still. If anyone knows the Lake District, it's not known for its warmth. And let's just add a vignette. It's good to know we've got a vignette somewhere down here. Close these down. Vignette. Oh, there was one on. Having seen the aspect ratio, I'm going to make it a bit more oval. Maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, something like that. So toggle off and on. There we go. Oh yeah, that's nice. Right, so let's pop back into Lightroom. Now I'm gonna switch off my filters and go find those files we've just made. You can do that by order by edit time, and we should find the photos. Yeah, there they are, look. So number one was Fisherman. There he is, it's just loading. So there he was, fishing away, and my very first attempt with the software gave us that, which, yep, looks nice. I think we improved as we went along. So we had some seashells, which we turned into that. Then we had Mum, which actually in Lightroom I did this with, but yeah, it's a different league, isn't it, what you can do with this. Actually, it's you know, from that to that. Yeah, with the rocky seafront, we went from that to that, and with the across the bay to the Lake District, we went from that to that, which was a bit more basic, but I think it made an atmospheric shot from something which was essentially a bit of a flat day. So conclusions. I reckon if you're after something to, you know, take your normal shots popping out of a digital camera, which are all, I mean, if you look, it's just lovely, clear, sharp, and a fantastic reproduction of what's in front of you, but not particularly artistic. If you want to give it that sort of traditional old school film look, I don't think I've seen a better tool for it, to be honest. I've used analog effects, I've used colour effects by Nick, I've used numerous things by On One in their raw package. I don't think there's much in Photoshop to do it. You can add grain in Lightroom and play around with grading and toning now, and adding LUTs to it. You can do the same in Photoshop, actually. But to get this sort of film look quickly and you know, in a fairly intuitive way. I mean, you've seen me open the package for the first time here and go from a so-so kind of result there to something which I'm like, oh wow, you know, I might get that printed, you know, get a picture of my mum on the wall with my camera. I mean, if we go full screen on that, and if it wasn't for the fact she was holding a 2016 camera in her hands, that could have been any time, really, couldn't it? So yeah, so if you want to use this from Lightroom, I think it's a fantastic bit of kit, and I'm looking forward to using it more. So what I'll be doing next, I think, is opening it up in Photoshop and seeing whether we can use it in actions and things like that. And I'll also have a look at it in DaVinci. Maybe try to make some drone footage look a bit more aged and interesting. So thanks for watching, and I hope that was interesting.